På St. Croix ligger Whim, som har været en bomulds- og sukkerplantage. Den er bygget af slaver omkring 1740, og slaver plantede og høstede først bomuld og derefter sukker på plantagen, som i dag er et museum. På Whim er der også et arkiv, hvor slavernes efterkommere kan gå tilbage i historien og se, hvor de kommer fra.
I'm 10th generation, a Crucian. I'm very proud of that. One of my African ancestors, her name was Ellen, spelled E-L-I-N, Elin, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, but anglicized Ellen, right? And she was brought to St. Croix in 1796 aboard the Anna Maria, a Danish slave ship. She was sold at auction. A guy by the name of Thomas Nugent Armstrong bought her in Christiansted.
Efter overfarten fra Afrika blev de slavegjorte afrikanere solgt på auktion i denne gård i Christiansted.
She had 2 known children, and based on the documentation, she more than likely died in childbirth or right after childbirth of her second child. And then, of the 2 children, only one had children, married. Her name was Eleanora James. Your surname was your father's name, which is rich because in a lot of the other Caribbean islands, or even maybe in the continental US, the surname was the planter's name or the estate owner's name.
De danske arkiver fra de vestindiske øer er de mest omfattende og detaljerede, som nogen kolonimagt har efterladt sig. De samlede arkiver, hvor de fleste er på Rigsarkivet i København, er blevet erklæret for UNESCO kulturarv, fordi selv de mindste detaljer er beskrevet.
The system was, we need complete records for taxation. And because of that taxation, we're able to follow who we are.
I think so far we've documented 6 ancestors who were born in Africa, which is kind of the thing that everybody here is eager to find, that one who came first from the motherland and landed here. So we're fortunate to have, I think, 6 now that we've been able to document. We haven't yet traced them to ships to find the exact place in Africa.
Sonja Jacobs mener, det er slavetiden, der er årsagen til, at så mange mennesker i Vestindien er optaget af at finde ud af, hvad deres baggrund er. Deres forfædre blev tvunget væk fra Afrika og frastjålet sprog, kultur og familie. Nu vil deres efterkommere lære fortiden at kende.
The Danes really tracked people. So enslaved people appear by name in census records, which is unusual. Not only their name, but a date of birth, their religion, their date of baptism, what kind of work they do. Those are all things that help you to find someone. And so you have those records, you have them showing up in property lists, along with the buildings and the animals and all the furnishings and everything of a plantation are also the names of the people with a value, which is both an interesting piece of information to have, but it's also something that hits you, There is nothing good about the institution of slavery. And sometimes to make ourselves feel better, a historian may say, well, this enslaver was more gentle or more generous than the other. But when someone takes you and they strip you of everything, of your name, your language, your clothing, your culture, your place that where you live, when one human being does that to another human being, there's nothing good about it. Even those who may not have participated directly in buying and selling people in the institution of slavery benefited, because Denmark as a whole benefited from sugar and rum. And that's kind of a safe place to say it. People will say, oh, rum paid for this, sugar paid for this. Well, I like to tell people, sugar cane has not found a way to plant itself, weed itself, harvest itself, crush itself, and get processed into sugar and molasses and rum. So sugar cane didn't make those cities. What made the wealth possible was slavery. It affected so many millions of people. So there is room to do a lot of reparation. How that will be defined going forward is different. It doesn't have to be that every descendant of a formerly enslaved person gets a check for $1 million. Whether it is educational programs, whether it is programs for health, programs for housing, whatever. I think there are a lot of opportunities to find. But I do think that countries that were involved in the institution of slavery have a moral responsibility to try to repair. They will never undo, because none of us can undo the past, but they can work to create greater understanding and to create healing.